Hello, everyone. Praise the Lord. Today, I want to tell you a story. I'm going to make it into segments, small, short segments. And when you hear the verse that says, the devil is roaming around, searching for someone to devour, I want you to understand it is something that is real. Now, this story is my story. It starts with my own mother. So it is like from grass to grace, from grace to grass. And the channeling was from the enemy, and it was channeled so well. And how my siblings and I realized this. Okay, or each and every time I keep on restarting the video because of my granddaughter. Okay, so and how we had to come and understand what was happening in our life and stand in prayers and says it ends with us. It does not go beyond this. Okay, quickly, let me start. My mother was this young girl who was brought up in a village, and the father was a clinical officer who had a small clinic. He was known by the name Dr. Odera because he was treating patients. At home, he was called Ajuaga because that is the name of a doctor in the language. Yeah, though it may mean something else, but because he had hospitals even at home, he had a clinic. Yeah, basically it's a clinic. And my mom, as a young girl, got into a love relationship with my father, my biological father, who is called Julius Kojuang. I am giving you the name so that as we continue up in the story, you don't get confused. Now, my mom gets pregnant at the age of around 16, 17. She keeps on debating between the two ages. So let's just leave it open between 16 and 17. And she has me, okay? Now, at this point, my mom says it was a very difficult time for her because the mom felt really she had clearly ashamed the family, you know, and it was very hard for her as she communicates to me in the story. So she went and delivered at my dad's, which was in Homa Bay, while they themselves are in South Nyanza. I would say somewhere called Kokuro or Rongo, around there. Their main town is Awendo. Now, this is the thing. My father, Kojuang, now has to go and study in India for further studies. Because remember, they were both young, they were both students, though my father was older than my mom. Okay? Now, at this point, my father decides to return my mom at her home place, believing they will take better care of her and her daughter while she is studying outside. Because at my father's home, uh, life was not easy. It was not as green as my mother's place. So there were not farmers, really, not basically farmers like my mother, though I hear they have their time where they farm like maize and such like things. But in my paternal father's home, they used to brew the local brew, like beer, but the local one, which they call, I think it's called changa in Kiswahili. I think in Kijaluo it's called, how is it called? Wait, let me see. I have forgotten, okay? But it's a local brew. So my mom says the life was very hard. It was a very dry place, Karachuonyo. It's in Homa Bay. So, there the lake pass. So mostly where the lake has passed is normally kind of dry. Now, as my father goes to study, my mom comes back home. So her father, who is my grandfather, decides, okay, I'm taking you to study nursing. So my mom is taken to Kisii to study nursing as a young girl, and my mom, by all standard, is a beautiful woman. And during that time, she was just a beautiful, beautiful girl. And you know what happens when girls are beautiful. The men will not let them rest. Okay. So my mom gets to date one guy that they later named Didi. Didi was of an Arabic origin, like Waswahili, yeah? Yeah, so a Muslim guy. But this is the only reason why I mentioned Didi is because he played also a crucial role in my mother's life and got to change their life even at home. Mom would come with these beautiful things, beautiful dresses for their siblings, and even ended up giving mom a place to stay with the brother when now the dad could not afford to pay for their accommodation. So that's why I bring Didi in. And I got to meet Didi somewhere in life, and he's a very pleasant man. And one thing I got out of Didi is he really, truly loved my mom, and he believed she was the most beautiful girl in the world, which leaves questions on what he thought about the wife or the wives, since he's a Muslim. Perhaps he had two. I'm not sure. I never really asked him. Now, now I'm bringing in the picture where my father comes in, Mr. Naftali Olang. And this is where my father now comes in. Now, my grandfather had a friend who by that time was a DC. He was called Genga, Paul Genga. He was the DC district commissioner for Turkana at that time, Lodwa. So he approaches my grandfather, Dr. Odera, and he tells my grandfather, listen, I have my friend. He's called Mr. Olang, and he's an accountant. My father was a district accountant for Lodwa at that time, Turkana, and he needs a wife. He's been having a wife for 10 years, who was a nurse, by the way, in Nairobi, Kenyatta Hospital, but they haven't had a child for 10 years. Now, he needs a wife that can bear him children. You see, and I'm seeing your daughter. Your daughter is a good girl. She's well bred. And the main point, she has a child. So we know that she is fertile. Okay. Yeah, the irony behind it. Yeah. So anyway, my grandfather is like, okay. So my grandfather brings this out and talks, and it's kind of a debate because my grandmama believes no, I think he's a bit too old for her and all this. And my grandfather is like, no, we are going to send the brother who's Jack. Jack is late now, my uncle. Is amongst the funniest people I have ever met in my life. Like when my uncle would come to visit, we would sit down. I would do everything so fast so I can just sit and listen to him because he really had the stories, trust me. And so they had to send him to go and see who is Mr. Olang. But this comes later. First of all, they start introducing my mom with my dad. They start writing letters, and my dad, being the gentleman that he is, he knows that a woman needs money. The keyword is money. Yes, and he knows that, and he takes care of those little things, that a lady might need, that maybe the parent may need. You see, and this is bringing joy. It is making her heart warm. Yeah. So it reaches a point where now they have to send my uncle to go and see if he's a good man. Is he a man that, because my grandfather loved his children so much. So my uncle goes, and this is the news that my uncle comes back with. And I laughed so much when he was telling this story. He said, oh my goodness, I went to be with Mr. Lang, and it happened. They went and stayed at Royale. I think it's called Royal, but people are calling it Royale now. It's known as Kisumu Hotel. It's called New Kisumu Hotel, I think something like that. And it is just opposite Maseno University in Kisumu. And my uncle said, oh my God, I looked at this man and I said, he is the best. And I asked, how did you come to this conclusion? And he says, first of all, This man had three newspapers. Three. Every day he was reading three newspapers. One was from Nation House, another one was from the Standard and People. No, no, Taifa. Taifa. I think he said Taifa. Right. And that was incredible. Like those days, people could not just buy a newspaper like that. And then to make the matter more fabulous, when he removed his money, they were all on rubber band. What are you doing? Okay, so he says then his money was all tied in rubber bands and they were new. Of course, they were new. The dude was a district accountant. He was handling money of an entire district. And and then there to escort him back when he was going, gave him the same money that is tied in rubber bands in envelopes for him and for my grandfather. Yeah, and for, of course, the betrothed. Yeah. So when he went back to tell the father, oh my goodness, all he had was good news all the way. Okay. Now we'll continue on the next part